everybody over in the pits. We're getting ready to get the top 32 qualifying going. So if you're over there in the pits, it's not raining anymore. Get on over to them grandstands in the backstretch there on the pit side. And come watch the show, cheer these guys on, let's get them hyped up. We're just getting ready to go, getting the drivers ready to go, and we'll be getting going here in just a couple of minutes. So if you're hanging out in the pits, grab a drink, grab a chair, grab your tent in case you're afraid of it raining. And come on up to that backstretch fence and let's support these guys as they put on a show not only for you guys, but for everybody watching on the live streams on Facebook and YouTube, and now being replayed on Roku TV as well. So make sure that we give these guys the support.
Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Ben. It's Ben, Ben, Ben. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Test, test, test. Test, test. I love Drift, PA, Ohio, New York. I love Matt's Erie. I love Lake Erie Speedway.
Check. Check. Check, check. Check. I love Ben.
Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. We need everybody. It's not raining anymore. Grab your chair, grab your tent. Come on over to the back stretch. Let's support these guys. We're getting ready to go here in just a couple of minutes. Grab a drink, grab your wife, grab your husband, grab your daughter, your cousin, your uncle. You're not going to want to miss it. Let's go, guys. Let's support these guys. Good evening and welcome to Lake Erie Speedway for the third season of the Great Lakes ProAm Series. A little bit rainy here today in northeast Pennsylvania. The rain has subsided and we're getting ready to get going here for our top 32, our first two competitors pulling up to the line. We have Cameron Downard, with a 2JZ Cressida, and Zach Egan
Zach Egan, currently with his turbo M54 B30 E46. New livery. Car looks great this year.
Yeah, those guys definitely put in the work this offseason to get those cars ready for the Pro-Am. I know a couple of the total loss guys are running the Pro-Am here this year, so Colin unable to make it to round number one, but Zach is able to make it and is our first battle of the top 32, so it should be a good one here. Interesting, combo here with the BMW and the Cressida. So we get ready to send these guys. Cameron Downard from Canton, Ohio. Again, 2JZ powered Cressida. And Zach Egan, the hometown kid right here from Northeast Pennsylvania. If you're watching on the live streams, thanks for joining us. Let us know where you're watching from and who you're rooting for here today. Obviously not getting into our top 16 here today, but will be tomorrow. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. But in the meantime, who are we looking to see advance here into the top 16? We have a $1,500 purse today. Pays $750 to first, $450 to second, and $300 to third. First battle is off. Downard out front, Egan in the chase. Oh, big surge from Egan, and he goes around in outside zone number 1. So Downard's just got to finish this one clean. Good lead out front, filled all of outside 1, most of outside 2. Egan's going to resume in the chase here. Oh, and Downard spins. No contact from Egan, so things going to be interesting for the judges here in our very first battle of top 32.
Zach Egan coming in a little bit hot in turn 1. It seems like he might have overestimated the speed of entry for Mr. Downard. Trying to correct now. It looks like Downard coming up a little bit short on zone 2. Egan doing his best to catch back up. And then obviously hits that wet patch coming into outside zone 3 and just loses it.
So, you know, without having a whole lot of time before getting our first battle started here on the live stream, the track is really patchy. As I had mentioned, strong rain earlier through most of the day, really didn't subside until about 5:30. So, you know, with the Mats Erie, we had guys running constantly for the last couple of hours since it quit raining. It's dried out quite a bit in some spots, but down in the center section of the infield, it is rather patchy wet. So, rather tricky to get through there. I know, you know, as a driver of the Mats weekend myself, and I'm sure Zach could attest, it is really, really different there in the infield than it is, you know, along the bottom of the bank and stuff when it's wet like that. So, you know, probably really what happened there for Cameron, spinning back there. And as Zach mentioned, Zach just jumping in a little bit too hot.
Zach Egan filling out the first zone, coming out a little bit early and going into zone 2. Coming through that wet patch. Great fill on zone 2. See how he does coming into zone 3. That same wet patch, a little shallow, but he does get out. And then coming into outside zone 4 up to the wall. Little correction, but otherwise good job.
Take a look at the replay here. You see Egan initiates very good into outside zone number 1. Just drives out of outside zone number 1 a little bit early. Transitioned to outside 2 very well again, filling all of outside 2. Cameron applying the pressure here into outside zone number 3. And tricky zone there as it's a little bit oblong. You see Cameron's able to suck back up to the door there. So overall, really solid lead for Zach Egan. We'll see here. Going to be interesting for these guys is, you know, if you're trying to go lead for lead here, you know, Cameron spins in the lead with no contact, and then Zach's able to complete his lead run. So see what the judges decide here.
So our second battle is supposed to be Christoph Krudel and Matt Moncallion, but Christoph is not here today, so Matt's going to get a bye.
So Matt, fresh Honda power plant under the hood of the Z here, is a little bit of a catastrophic failure a couple weeks ago. He's got that thing buttoned up. He was working on it all the way into last night, down on the starting line, and he's ready to go here for round number 1 of the 2024 Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. Oh, we have a quick second. Give a couple of shout-outs to Formula Drift for sanctioning the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series and affording the opportunity to these guys to be able to receive a pro license. And a special thank you to Link ECU for coming back on board again this year. Always great to have these guys. And, you know, without these guys, these drivers don't get the opportunity to progress their career path in drifting and have the opportunity to get into the pro ranks. So couldn't do it without them. Special thanks to them. Also, we wouldn't be here without Pro Waste Services, Lake Erie Speedway, driven by Pro Waste.
It seems we should have a decision on battle 1. We have Matt Knapp going towards Zach Egan, Kelly going towards Egan, and one more time. So Zach Egan's going to get it in the first battle.
So maybe a little bit of a point if any drivers are watching the live stream from back in the pits. That lead run is going to be very important to the judges here. Obviously, you know, Zach not incompleting on his lead, Cameron incompleting on his lead, ultimately going to give Zach Egan the advancement into the top 16. Matt Moncallion finished 6th in the points last year in the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. Had really strong outing in his first couple attempts with that Honda power under the hood.
So we have Matt out for his bye run. Pretty good job of filling outside zone 1, maybe a little bit wide. Coming down into that wet section now on the new pavement, which is very slick. Not quite making it out, but doing okay. Definitely holding the line. Outside zone 3, transition's good. A little shallow, but still on line. Then coming up to the wall. Little correction when he came up the bank, but otherwise, that is a good lead. He's sending the whole bank.
I wouldn't really expect a whole lot less from Matt. Every time he hits the track, he's full send mode, that's for sure. So, quick shout out, taking a look at the comments here on Facebook and YouTube. Tom Perner, the Pern Star. Our brother lost to the south.
So lining up now for another bye run, we have Mo Aldhamen from Diamonddale, Michigan in his 2JZ VVTi 240SX. Absolutely beautiful car.
So when I was down in tech with Brian earlier, teching in the pro guys here, Brian got to talk to Mo about the power under the hood of that car, and he said 700 without the nitrous. So Lots of horsepower under the hood of this 240 SX. We'll see how that fares during this bye run. Off goes Mo into outside zone number 1. Initiates very good, filling all of outside zone number 1, teetering right on that white line. Into outside zone number 2, drops a tire in outside 2. Just a little bit deep as it gets wet there. Oh, real deep here into outside zone number 3. Gathers it back in and fills all of outside 3. And finishes the runoff strong through outside 4 right there up against that bank wall as he makes sweet Jay-Z music. Another quick shout out to everybody's homie, Danmo. Big pro guy now. Glad that you're joining us, Danmo. We miss you. If you're not already, make sure that you head on over to the Great Lakes ProAm Series YouTube page. Give it a follow, hit that notification bell, never miss any of the Great Lakes ProAm Series rounds. Same thing with Facebook to the Lake Erie Speedway Facebook page.
Lining up now, we have Xander Nappy in his 2JZ BMW M3 E36. His initiation looks great. He's on line. Maybe a little shallow in outside zone 1. Coming through that wet patch onto the new pavement. Absolutely perfect into outside zone 2, and then maybe coming out a little shallow. Outside zone 3. Trying his absolute best to get out there, and he does it. And coming into outside zone 4 up into the bank. Perfect into the zone, maybe a little wide, 2 tires. And then pulling it back in to make the outside zone 4 perfect.
So I'd like to point out, with these couple of bye runs that we've seen, it gives you a really good idea of, how patchy the track is, as we've seen guys inside, we've seen guys outside. Obviously, there's some variables there and how gripped up these guys have their cars set up. But with that general wet condition, generally not too big of an issue. So you can see just how tricky this layout with that rain that's still sitting down on track is making it. There's a couple tires off here, a couple tires off there. We've seen some guys come up short. Up next, we're going to see Fred Maybach and Ryan Reese. Fred, actually, in our first season, competed and did very well with us. He took a couple years off to be a judge here, and now he's back in the field again. So Ryan Reese with that JZX 100 with the 1.5 JZ, and Fred Maybach in the E36 with the Turbo S50.
All right, coming into turn 1, Ryan's entry looking perfect. Fred picking up the back like a 2-car gap. Ryan fills all of outside zone 1. Coming across the middle through that transition onto the wet. Ryan looking maybe 1 tire off. Fred doing his best. Into outside zone 3. Fred right up in the pocket where he's supposed to be, and he loops it. Ryan's going to send it up the bank alone.
Bummer for Fred there, as I was just talking about, and we'll see in the replay here. hits a wet spot and is unable to gather it back up. So good initiation here from Ryan Reese. Fred right there behind him, a little bit wide through outside zone number 1. Good transition into outside zone 2. Ryan dropping a tire. Fred losing the line there a little bit to catch up, and then Fred really applying the pressure back to Ryan here in outside zone number 3 and just couldn't get it back off of the angle lock there. So Ryan's going to finish out through outside zone number 4 up to the bank wall, and that JZ sounds so good.
All right, we're going to line them back up with Fred leading the way this time, Ryan in chase. All right, the lights are on, and they're away. Fred with a picture-perfect entry, filling all of outside zone 1. Ryan right where he needs to be, right in the pocket. Coming into outside zone 2. Oh! Fred maybe checked up a little bit to take care of the wet, and Ryan buried it into the side of his car. Outside zone 3, Fred is on an almost perfect lead run and up the bank.
So an interesting turn of events here with Fred in the lead. Great initiation into outside zone number 1. Ryan just pouring on the pressure to Fred through outside zone number 1. Good transition, maybe just a little bit too much angle there from Fred. Ends up stalling it up a little bit and losing that momentum, which causes Ryan to get into the door of Fred, and Fred finishes out the run. So we'll see what the judges think about that one. And a decision is in. Ryan Reese will advance over Fred Maybach unanimously, as the judges must have had Fred at fault there with that big checkup in outside zone number 2.
All right, lining up now, we have Andrew Wilder in the lead and Eric Kananowicz in the Mustang behind him.
Fresh build on the Mustang for Eric. I was talking to him earlier today. He had street driven the car a handful of miles, had not done any true testing since this morning. So Eric's first go at a Pro-Am series. Andrew has been here before. So a tale of two sides, and they're off. Andrew Wilder out front, Eric out back. Oh. So takes out a cone in the start chicane for a restart, but boy, that almost got interesting there, Zach.
Yeah, that was a little bit too close for comfort. The Mustang was coming in hot. Apparently he didn't get the message that we were going to have a restart.
So we'll re-rack them and send them down one more time here. Again, Andrew Wilder out front. V8 powered Scion. Also freshly redone as well. So pretty much two fresh builds. I know, Andrew has some time in that chassis, but kind of revamping things this off-season for this year's Pro-Am series. So we'll see if they can get it done this time, as we're getting ready to send them back. And they're off again. No cones down this time. Wilder out front. Wilder does a good job through outside zone number 1, trying to erase that white line. Eric applying the pressure here into outside zone number 2. Oh! And Andrew's wide in the wall. Heavy damage to Andrew Wilder. Hits the jersey barrier, sucks him back around and back for a second contact. Checking to make sure he's okay. He's okay in the car. As we talked about, that infield section there is treacherous. Andrew comes in through transition. See if we can get a replay of that here for you guys in just a second. On the replay, I think you're really going to be able to see where Andrew comes out outside zone number 1 and then in transition just carries a little bit too much speed towards outside zone number 2. Looks like it cracked a jersey barrier down there too. So take a look back, 2023 Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. Overall winner was Alan Boss. Alan was slated to drive today. If you were watching Pro Spec Round 1 at Atlanta, you know that Alan was unable to compete in his car because of engine damage, and unfortunately ended up competing in Casey's car and also having some gremlins with Casey's car. So Alan was going to come out and drive, just about every round this year with that damage, unable to make round 1. So, but Alan Boss took the number 1 spot in 2023. Chad Anderson was 2nd. Mike Steele was 3rd. Kevin Ferraro was 4th. And Casey Rodriguez was 5th. So of those guys, that finished in the top 5, we don't really see any of these guys here today. Casey's here, Kevin's here, Mike Steele is not, Chad Anderson is not. So, if you want to talk about apples to apples from a season ago till today, lots of open doors here for these guys that are new to the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series to have good success if you're measuring it by, the points, who was the stiffest competition last year. So going to be an interesting first round. There's a lot of new faces in the field this year. Excited and eager to get out on track. Yep, heard. Yeah. Yep.
I drew the bracket up too.
So it should be noted today there's going to be quite a few buy runs. And in spite of having a full bracket, the issue we're having is there's a lot of broken cars. There's a lot of guys who simply couldn't make it. They didn't get a car done in time. This is the first round of Pro-Am. So I know in my experience, and I'm sure Ben's as well, you're trying to get a car together, and you don't always make the date. And I think moving forward we have 6 battles, but there is going to be a couple buy runs. So just bear with us. Those guys get a nice, easy run into the top 16. And moving forward, I know that this current situation, what should be noted, this outside zone in 1 is going to dry up first. So you're going to have an absolute ton of speed coming out of 1 to 2. And Lake Erie Speedway repaved the center of the track, and the material is different. So it holds water for a lot longer. And it's going to be very slick in the middle, and then the banks in the outside zone 1 are going to be basically dry moving forward.
Yeah, so, looking forward to the bracket here, as you see up on screen right now. So Andrew Wilder, unfortunately, getting into the Jersey barrier there. And then our next battle between Vinny and Brad, that will be a battle. Casey versus Savannah, that will be a battle. Unfortunately, Elliott Rose broke while practicing earlier today, so Jordan Becker will have a bye. Taylor Braun and Aaron Farrell, if I'm not mistaken, that should be a battle. Aaron freshly LS swapping his G and in testing smacked a valve, but not afraid of it. He said no damage to the cylinder wall, none of that stuff. So he's got a nice little indent in his piston, and he's just going to send it. So shout out, pretty funny. You can find him on social media at Butters Drifts. So I think that was Matt Knapp wanted me to call him that, and it stuck pretty good. So, and then Theon Nelson and Henry Donahue. Theon was unable to get his comp car ready for round number 1. He is on the property, just in the party car today. So, unfortunately, we will not be seeing Theon, and Henry will have a bye run. And then Josh Leatherborough and Grayson McBride. Josh Leatherborough was out in practice earlier today, having some problems with the car late in practice. We've received word that he will not be making it to his top 32 battle, so that will give Grayson McBride a bye run. Troy Manners and Nick Iannucci. Nick unable to make the event. Car wasn't ready. So that'll give Troy the bye run into the top 16. And then Joshua Dennis and Adam Bergener. That will be a battle. By the way, because I was running tech, Josh's car is frickin' sweet. Yes, Josh Dennis. Honda powered under the hood. So, last year we didn't see only Matt Moncallion with a Honda swap under the hood in the entire field. So here at round 1, Joshua Dennis going to be the second Honda-powered car in the field. Yep, E46. And that car is sweet. That was my first time working in tech since I've been involved. And it was really nice to be able to see these cars hands-on. If you remember, and I'm sure somebody like Tom Perner, who watches every stream, will remember me saying, you have to get out there and put your hands on these guys' builds. They are really, really well-built cars. Like, even, obviously style's such a big thing in drifting. Like, even in some cars, almost to a show car kind of style, but it is a pro car, or a ProAm car, if you will. It's kind of funny how that's evolved over the years between, being able to jump into pro spec with a car like what we're seeing on track here today versus now it kind of seems like the pro spec car has to be pro level competitive.
Yeah, it is definitely a true statement that Pro-Am cars are getting more and more aggressively built as the years go on, as the sport gains in popularity. But it needs to be said that you guys have to understand a lot of these guys are putting everything they have into building these cars. And to see someone like Andrew Wilder come out who's got a super well-built car, if you've ever seen pictures or you follow him on Instagram or social media, that car has every nut and bolt has been turned on it and done all by him. And then to come out here and lay it out on the line and take a Jersey barrier like that is just heartbreaking, I'm sure.
If you're not here at the Speedway and you're watching from the live stream and you're local to us here, and I would call local Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Buffalo, because it's such a close shot to here. You got to get out here. This is just our top 32, almost like a seeding to the 16, like what we're seeing in the pro ranks with that new look to competition. It's been very well received at the pro level. I got to say, I love it. Versus the single qualifying run, we just get to see good battles all day. And it's exactly what we were seeing here between Andrew Wilder and Eric. I don't want to butcher your last name, Eric, so I'm not going to do it. And I'll come talk to you, but Kananowitz. It's going to be a really good battle. Eric was really applying the pressure to Andrew all the way through outside zone number 1, so you got to give a hats off to him with maybe only having 15, 20 laps on that fresh build. Really comfortable with the build of the car. All right, guys. So while we got a little bit of downtime here, we got quite the treat for you. So the champion of the 2023 Great Lakes Pro-Am Series and now Pro Spec contender, Alan Boss, joining us in the booth. Alan, how you doing today? Hopefully dry.
Yeah, I'm good. Dry now. It was coming down pretty good earlier, but definitely enjoying the show now. And it's unfortunate watching Andrew go into the wall, but definitely enjoying the battles when they happen.
Yeah, and that's a real hard hit there on the Jersey barrier too. So hopefully not too much damage to the car. But so let's talk about how the off season has gone for you. Completely fresh build on the car. Obviously I think most of the people around here are going to know, what ultimately ended up happening before round 1. But, just kind of take us through what the off season looked like and what it was like getting ready for Prospect.
Yeah, it was super busy for sure. Started with a brand new fresh shell back in November, I think, and spent about 2 months with it, seam welding it, getting the cage in it, and just prepping on the rotisserie. And then after that, it kind of flew by once we started just throwing parts at it. Got it up to Fab Mac up in Canada to get the tune done, and then we were out for testing. We were actually able to get like a handful of test days in prior to going to round 1 down in Atlanta, and all three or 4 days that we had on track sucked generally for one reason or another. But with the new build, you'll have a lot of gremlins, which I'm sure a lot of the Pro-Am guys are feeling today. Just a lot of simple stuff that you may or may not catch, or might be like a faulty part, or just something in the overall layout of the car even could be an issue. But once you get the bugs worked out, generally it's pretty good. My car was finally dialed in by the time we got down to Atlanta. I think I had maybe 3 laps in the car before we got down there where everything felt dialed in and 100%. And then unfortunately on Tuesday night while we were down there, the engine dropped a valve idling in the pits, which is a bummer for sure. I was super excited to drive the brand new car. The thing's a rocket ship. It feels like a fighter jet. It's faster. It's faster than any other car I've ever driven. That's for sure. So I was really looking forward to getting out there with it, but unfortunately that was in the cards. So Wednesday morning before the seating bracket started, we got Casey's car through tech and tried to drive it out there. Unfortunately, he was having some fueling issues. So we think the injectors were too small, and there was an issue with the tune due to the injectors. So didn't really have the power that we needed to drive that track, and it was patchy anyways because it rained a lot like it did here today. And then did what we could, took a shot at it, and didn't work out so great. But we got Casey's car sorted out 2 days ago, and now he's here ready to rip. Looking forward to watching him battle. He's got Savannah up first. Looking forward to it.
So spotting for Casey today, right?
Oh yeah, working real hard.
Cool.
For sure, setting him up for success. Now he doesn't need me at all. The kid just shows up and drives. He's got more talent than anyone else I've ever driven with.
The Yeet's fleeting.
Yeeting and fleeting, baby. Watch
but
out.
Yeah, I think I'm not in by myself on that. Was watching all of round 1. Eager to see you, Dan, Mo, Adam. See how you guys are gonna do. So obviously from all of us here, and everybody I'm sure that has been watching the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series is probably right there with you, on our sadness of that whole situation. But we know that you'll get it back together, and we'll see you out there. And I'm sure that it's going to be tough for some of these guys in Pro Spec to handle what you're going to bring to the table. So,
thank you. Yeah, I hope to put on a good show and make everyone back here proud. Represent for Lake Erie Speedway and the Great Lakes Pro-Am for sure.
We love that. That's for sure. So, like I was saying, Alan was going to be driving today, but with that, unable to. So, what's the plan moving forward for the Pro car?
Moving forward for the Pro car, we're going to throw a fresh long block in it. I think that the valve drop did some damage, so we're going to get that replaced, and then hopefully over the next couple of weeks get it back together on the dyno, and then looking to be out here for round 2 at Great Lakes, get some comp practice in, and put a lot of laps on the car so we can get a lot of seat time over here.
Yeah, that's maybe the biggest claim to fame for Lake Erie Speedway, right, in Drift, PA, Ohio, New York, is all the seat time, whether you're in the Pro-Am or just enjoying the Mats weekend. And as a matter of fact, when you're in the Pro-Am, you still get to enjoy the Mats Erie weekend. So, even outside of it, get to turn some laps, make sure that everything's good moving into round 2.
Yeah, that's right. I was out there whipping Mom's car this morning, got 30 laps in 2.5 sessions, so it was a good time for sure. It was like driving through a lake. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was coming down earlier. So what do you think here? We got a little bit of a horsepower difference between these two guys. That's Vinny in the purple BMW and Brad Powell in his V8 supercharged S13.
Yeah, so as part of my spotter duties, working vigilantly up here, they were both ripping pretty good this morning in spite of the tough track conditions. It'd be pretty interesting to see how they adapt to the grip levels in 1 and 4 as they contrast to the grip levels in 2 and 3. Looking very slick out there in the infield.
So side note here, we haven't seen either of these guys through our first couple seasons of the Great Lakes Pro-Am series. And they're off. Vinny out front, Brad in the chase. Vinny initiates into outside zone number 1. Nice flick, filling all of outside zone number 1. Comes out just a little bit early. Brad struggling to keep up, gonna cut in transition to try to close on the proximity. A little bit short on the line in the chase here. Vinny out front into outside zone number 3. Fills outside zone number 3 pretty well. Brad transitions with him to outside 4. A little bit too much angle from Brad in the chase. Gonna make things a little bit weird there, finishing the run out, but overall solid lead from Vinny. So again, as we take a look at the replay here, Vinny out front, Brad just not really there with the proximity on initiation. Closes it up here into outside zone number 2. Just unable to regain the ground lost from the run-up. And then to outside zone number 3. Has to cut the line quite a bit, trying to close on the proximity again. And Vinny fills all of outside 4. So solid lead there from Vinny. Brad kind of struggling in the chase there to keep the proximity.
All right, we're going to switch places and line them back up with Vinny in the back and Bradley now leading the way into outside zone 1. The lights are off and they have left the line. Good entry by Brad up front. Vincent definitely not falling behind though in the E36. First time we've seen smoke all day. Coming into outside zone 2. Brad may come a little bit short. Vince still doing what he needs to do to stay in the pocket behind him. Maybe a 1-2 car gap coming into outside zone 4 up the bank. Coming up way shallow in the lead.
So take a look at this here. Brad out front, shallow on outside zone number 1. Vinny pours a good bit of angle into transition, and Brad does as well, so comes up short on outside 2. Vinny active in the chase here. Through outside 3, comes short. And then short on outside 4. So, as the track's drying up here, these guys might have had a little bit more grip in the car for the wet. And as it's starting to dry out there through the line, you can see Brad kind of struggling to fill the zone. So decision is in. Vinny Capola is going to move on unanimously over Bradley Powell.
All right, lining up now, we have Casey Rodriguez in the lead and Savannah Campbell in the chase. Casey is a fresh build, Alan, this year. Same car as last year, but also the car that Alan Bosch drove at Atlanta for FD round 1 due to his engine failure in his, and Savannah with the KA24 Turbo.
Lights are on, lights are off. Casey Rodriguez in the lead, Savannah Campbell in the chase. Casey initiates into outside zone number 1. Nice flick to angle, filling all of outside zone number 1 very well. Into outside zone number 2 here. Takes the smooth and clean approach to outside zone number 2. Nice flick into outside zone number 3 through that wet spot, filling all of outside zone number 3. And then into outside zone number 4. Casey riding right up against the bank wall. Savannah really had a pretty good chase there, and then a straighten in outside zone number 4. So see what kind of deduction that will bring to her here.
All right, watching the replay, we have Casey coming into outside zone 1. Lots of a gap there, but also a pretty big horsepower difference here. Coming into outside zone 2, Casey maybe a little bit shallow, not quite getting all the way out to outside zone 2, but it is coming into the wet there, so maybe a little bit tentative after that crash with Wilder. Coming to outside zone 3, filling the whole zone, absolutely where he needs to be. And then coming up into the bank, maybe a little bit late getting into the zone, but definitely filling it out.
Yeah, solid lead there from Casey for sure. Maybe one of the best lines in the lead that we've seen yet in top 32. So we'll flip them and send them. Savannah out front, Casey in the chase. Savannah does not initiate into outside zone number 1. Alan had just mentioned she was having some powertrain problems earlier today, so maybe those gremlins sticking their heads back up here for Savannah in her lead run. Car looked okay in her chase run, but obviously there at the end through outside 4, she had a straight and almost a loss of power. So maybe having some kind of mechanical issue. All right, so a little bit of deliberation up here in the booth. The decisions are coming in right now. Unanimous decision, Casey Rodriguez will advance to the top 16 over Savannah Campbell. So up next going to be another unfamiliar face, a new face to the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series, Jordan Becker in his LS-powered 240SX. That's an all-fresh build on that car, fresh chassis and everything. His first attempt at a Pro-Am Series. Starting it off with a bye run into the top 16, not a bad way to start your Pro-Am career. While we're getting Savannah off track here, just a couple little bits of information for you guys. The only person in the field today who has won a round of the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series is Troy Manners. So Troy, who we will be seeing here, 3 more runs and we'll see Troy. Troy winning round number 4 last year in the 2023 Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. And then when you look back to 2022, nobody in the field that had won in 2022 either. So be interesting here. Kind of take a look at that. Talked about the top 5 in 23. The top 5 in points in 2022 was Dan Malvazio, Andrew Shorkey, and Fred. So Fred, we saw, got knocked off by Ryan Reese with that unfortunate checkup in outside zone number 2. And the contact being deemed Fred's fault. So Fred top 3 in points in 2022. Aaron Spiegel 4th, and 5, the Pern star, Tom Perner. Again, I was talking about right at the head of the stream. Round number 1, $1,500 purse. The winner's going to take home $750. Second place going to take home $450. And third place going to take away $300. Plus a giveaway from Contingency Connection. Also, shout out to Distinct Drift, who is going to be selecting drivers of the Pro-Am and giving away 6 tires for round number 1, coming on board to the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series and supporting these drivers that way. Absolutely awesome, and a big thank you to Distinct Drift. Quick talk on overall points for the 2024 Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. The winner of the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series this year will take home $2,500 and their Formula Drift Pro Spec license. Second will take home $1,250. Third will take $750. Fourth will take $500, and fifth will take $500. So pretty good payout scheme here for the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series to make sure that it's worth these guys coming out and partaking in it. Also, lots of events here at the Speedway this year. I'll get back into that here in just a minute as we're ready to send Jordan Becker.
All right, the lights are off and Jordan is away for his bye run. Good flick into outside zone 1, filling all of outside zone. See how he does for this transition down into the wet into outside zone 2. A little bit of left foot brake to get the car to settle down. Into outside zone 2, maybe dropping a tire, adding a bunch of angle, trying to deal with that. Coming into outside zone 3, a little wide, and ends up setting him up to come out a little bit shallow into outside zone 3. Now up onto the bank for outside zone 4, getting into it a little bit late, but filling it all the way up against the wall there and running the bank to put on the show, because why not?
So the nerves for the first time being in a Pro-Am series, it's a bye run, but still, first time strapping into the car for competition seems to be no effect for Jordan Becker, as he runs a very, very good run there on his bye run. So if he can pick up with that tomorrow in top 16 in his lead runs, he's going to have a really good start to his weekend here. So big round of applause for Jordan Becker.
So now we're going to line up Eric again to do the second half of that Wilder battle. Coming into outside zone 1 is initiation, maybe coming up a little bit shallow, working his way out, finishing out the zone where he needs to be, transitioning into outside zone 2, coming across through that wet patch. What looks to be filling all of outside zone 2. Angling up, slow down a little bit for outside zone 3, coming in a little bit shallow, but online nonetheless. And coming up the bank for outside zone 4, getting in nice and early, maybe dropping a tire and putting against the wall for a completed run.
So same thing there for Eric, his first time in competition as well. So, obviously in the first leg there with Andrew getting into the wall, but Eric was very active in his chase there. So obviously not too timid of the fresh build there or the nerves of his first competition. So Eric's bye run, he throws down a really good run. A little bit shallow here and there, but overall pretty good. Next we're going to see Taylor Braun on a bye run. He initiates into outside zone number 1, filling all of outside zone number 1 very well. A little bit of left foot brake coming out of outside 1 into outside 2. Nice transition. Fills all of outside 2 just right. Snappy transition into outside zone number 3. Fills all of it as well. So again, another really solid bye run here. Taylor has experience in the Great Lakes Pro-Am series. Had the left foot break it out a little bit there in outside zone number 4, but really solid bye run for Taylor Braun. So all kinds of events here at Lake Erie Speedway in 2024. We already have one drift event in the books, the Winter Drift Bash. And then we had the Total Eclipse Festival. It was really, really cool. Had a lot of travelers out for that. And then a drift clinic in April. And now spring Matt's Erie. So we have that going on here all weekend. Henry Donahue out for his bye run. V8 powered BMW. Leaves outside zone number 1 just a little bit early. Into outside zone number 2. Dropping 2 tires out outside zone number 2. Good job there through outside zone 3, filling all of that. And finishes off strong through outside zone number 4. So back to back good bye runs. So these guys certainly taking notes on tomorrow, but it's tough because the track is patchy right now still. And, tomorrow it's really not supposed to, I'm not going to say the word, but it's not supposed to do the thing that it did today, tomorrow.
All right, here we have Grayson McBride in what looks to be a Toyota Corolla. coming into outside zone 1. Maybe a little bit of a failure to initiate there, but otherwise filling outside zone 1 right on the line where he needs to be. Coming through that wet patch into outside zone 2, pours a bunch of angle in to deal with the speed, and ends up coming up a little bit shallow. Coming into outside zone 3, doesn't quite make it out to outside zone 3. Now coming up to the wall for outside zone 4. Gets in nice and early, finds that grip, and fills what looks to be all of outside zone 4, and once again running the entire bank.
So Grayson coming over to Northeast Pennsylvania from across the lake from Canada. So his first time over here at the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. We're sending him hot. Troy Manners by run underway. Through outside zone number 1, dropping some tires through there. Transition into outside 2. A little bit timid into outside zone 2 with that wetness there. Nice and wide through outside zone 3. You could see a little bit different approach there than what we've been seeing. To outside 4. So good by run here for Troy. As I had mentioned, Troy was a very fierce competitor in the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series in 2023. Always giving good competition to these guys.
All right, lining up now, we have Joshua Dennis and Adam Bergener. Bergener driving the 4.8 liter LS swap 240SX, and Joshua Dennis driving the E46 chassis.
Dennis with the K Series power under the hood, as I was talking about at the head of the stream here. Very clean build on that car. Dennis out front, Bergener in the chase. Dennis initiates into outside 1, drops a tire off the back outside zone number 1, gathers it back in. Adam doing everything he can to keep up here. Transition to 2, good line, maybe dropping a tire there as well in the lead for Dennis. Adam closes up on the proximity here into outside zone number 3. Really good chase run here from Adam. Oh, and Adam goes around into outside 4. You can see he kind of set the car up for a late transition so that he could really suck up the proximity into outside zone number 4. Take a look at the replay.
Coming into outside zone 1, we have one tire off, but otherwise an absolutely flawless line. It looks like maybe a little bit of understeer there through outside zone 1 for the chase. Coming into outside zone 2, flawless transition, sitting one tire on the line. Coming into outside zone 3, maybe one tire dropped off, but otherwise filling the zone exactly how he needs to be. And then coming across that wet, it looks like maybe just got caught out and then hitting that grip on the bank, and it just pulled the car around on him.
So we'll flip him around here. Solid lead out front for Dennis. Adam going to have to throw down a pretty good lead run here. Dennis going to have to stay active in the chase. Lights go on, lights go off, and they're out. Bergener out front, initiates into outside zone number 1. Nice flick to initiation there, filling all of outside zone number 1. Into outside zone number 2. Nice job in the lead. Dennis applying the pressure in the chase here. Into outside zone number 3. Adam flirting with the wall. Leaves outside 3 a little bit early. Dennis very active in the chase into outside 4. Really solid lead run there from Adam. The judges are going to have one on their hands here. We didn't get to see too many battles here in top 32 so far, but when we have, they've been tight ones.
Taking a look at the replay here. That initiation right on line, sitting on the outside of outside zone 1 with his tires. Chase maybe a 1 to 2 car gap, but otherwise holding line right where he needs to be, coming into outside zone 2, cutting the line pretty aggressively there to try and make up some proximity. Coming into outside zone 4, just barely getting out to that wall, but filling the zone right where he needs to be. Dennis transitioning a little bit late into outside zone 4, not able to quite make up that gap. But otherwise, I would say probably one of the best battles we've had so far.
Yeah, for certain. You know, Adam really solid in the chase, really solid in the lead. Dennis very solid in the lead, very solid in the chase. So definitely left it to the judges here this time. So decision is in. Joshua Dennis going to advance over Adam Bergener unanimously into the top 16.
All right, coming up to the line now, we have Kevin Ferraro in that E36 and Mike Sampson in that LS-swapped E30 in chase.
Fresh motor under the hood for Mike Sampson, too. When I teched Mike in earlier, he was still doing learning on the Holly as he was pulling up to tech there. So,
all right, the lights are on, the lights are off, and they are going into outside zone 1. Nice initiation from Ferraro, holding that line right where he needs to be. Mike Sampson, maybe a 1-car gap. Coming into outside zone 2. Oh, absolutely beautiful transition there. Mike Sampson right on his door. Ferraro filling that entire zone. Coming into outside zone 3. A little bit shallow, but filling the last part of the zone there for Ferraro. Mike Sampson right behind him. Coming up the bank now. Absolutely beautiful transition from Ferraro into outside 4. Running the bank out for the show.
Everybody put your hands together for Kevin Ferraro and Mike Sampson. Mike Sampson just absolutely aggressive in the chase position here. Kevin doing a good job in the lead, drops a couple tires in outside zone number 1, putting on the smoke screen. Really aggressive transition into outside zone number 2. You can see Mike just absolutely applying the pressure here throughout the entire run into outside zone number 3. Kevin just filling outside 3. Mike transitions really hard and early here. Has to left foot brake to try to maintain the line. So Mike kind of going inside through outside zone number 4 because of that transition. But boy, really good first set of runs there between Sampson and Ferraro.
All right, we're going to switch places now. Mike Sampson in the lead, Kevin Ferraro in the chase. The lights are on and they are off. Mike Sampson with a beautiful flick into outside zone 1. Kevin Ferraro not letting him get away. Less than a car gap between the two, filling that first zone. Coming through that transition to outside zone 2. Absolutely perfect transition from Ferraro. Mike Sampson filling all of outside 2, transitioning now into 3. Maybe a 1-car gap opening up, but this is the wettest part of the track. Transitioning into 4, going up the bank. Ferraro putting the pressure on with the left foot brake, trying to sneak up on him, and that is beautiful.
So let me say, you know, if you're a driver watching the stream right now, you know, this is exactly what the judges are looking for on both sides of it here. So, you know, Kevin felt the pressure when he was in the lead. He knows he's got to apply the pressure. He does just that through outside zone number 1. Good lead from Sampson to be able to allow this to happen through outside zone number 2. Outside 3, same thing still applies. Kevin sets up here to follow that line. Good aggressive transition to suck up that gap. And they were both a little bit short on outside zone number 4. So going to be an interesting one here. Could we see a one more time potentially here? Saw a comment in the comments here just a couple minutes ago about what time does Top 16 start tomorrow. It does start at 11 a.m. tomorrow. You can catch it right here on the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series YouTube page or the Lake Erie Speedway Facebook page. So make sure that you subscribe and hit that notifications bell. Make sure you tell your friends not to miss out on the action.
It looks like coming up on screen now, we have a decision between Mike Sampson and Kevin Ferraro. Popovich sliding towards Sampson, Kelly towards Sampson. It is unanimous. Mike Sampson gets the win, and absolutely just the cherry on top of our top 32 qualifying seeding battles here.
So really good battle here to round out our top 32. Obviously we saw quite a few bye runs from a lot of new faces. So we'll see how they fare out tomorrow in top 16. As you take a look at the screen here, the people who advanced in their battles or their bye runs are highlighted there in that yellow border. So you can take a look there. You can see Zach Egan advancing, Moncalian advancing, Mo advancing, Xander advancing, Ryan Reese advancing, Eric advancing, Vinny Capola advancing, Casey Rodriguez, Jordan Becker, Taylor Braun, Henry Donahue, Grayson McBride, Troy Manners, Joshua Dennis, and Mike Sampson. So, just a little bit of a preview there in that last battle of what you can expect to see tomorrow. Our conditions tomorrow will be totally different with a dry track, so going to be a whole nother variable there and make things extra interesting for our first round top 16 of the 2024 Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. So before we get going, again, just want to thank Formula Drift, Link ECU, Distinct Drift, and all the partners of the Speedway for making it possible for this to take place. Again, live stream for Top 16 tomorrow will be at 11 a.m. So make sure that you go ahead and follow or subscribe to any of the Lake Erie Speedway social medias at Lake Erie Speedway on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can get all the updated schedules and YouTube for at Great Lakes Pro-Am Series to watch all the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series rounds. Thank you for joining us. If you're here at the Speedway, thanks for coming up to the fence and supporting these guys. For Ben Bruno and Zach Snyder,